Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this video, we are looking at the Marvel Legends Mindless One Build-A-Figure wave. Mindless One Build-A-Figure. I've heard some people say this is a giant waste of a Build-A-Figure. I've heard some people say this is the best Build-A-Figure ever. I don't think either of those is a correct statement. I wouldn't say it's a waste of space, and I also wouldn't say it's the best thing ever. As can be seen pretty clearly, it's not like the Mindless One is it's a very involved character design. I mean, it's an army builder, if anything. So it's weird to me that it's a Build-A-Figure in that sense. But is it any good? That's the question. You can decide for yourself how important you think it is, but we'll see if it's any good objectively, and then you can apply that however you want. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. Okay, now I do want to do the height measurement. I normally start with that because if I don't, I'll forget it. But I do want to do the question of the day because I don't want to forget that. Do you think personally, not counting the quality of the figure, do you think the Mindless One is a good character for a bath? For me, it's not. I think they could have done better by selling it in 2 packs, honestly, because it's going to be 2 of the exact same figure. So they can definitely cut down on costs, cut down on overhead, sell them a little bit cheaper, because it's really not that big. And we're going to get into the height measurement because it's important here. I think since it's a very Build-A-Figure type thing, or I mean, Build-A-Figure, it's a very army builder type thing, I think they could have gotten away without doing this sort of thing, because it's going to be hard for people to get multiples of these in a cost-effective way. Alright, so height measurement. This guy stands, he's only about 19.5 centimeters. That's going to be roughly 7.5 inches. Here he is up against Darwin. You can see he is clearly not big enough to warrant a Build-A-Figure. It's not necessary. They could have easily made him a standard release, and since he requires very little paint, though there is some on here, we'll get to that, I think they could have easily made this more army builder friendly. That's my personal opinion. I don't army build personally. I don't mind having just one of an army type thing, but I know a lot of you guys do like that. And some people even find their self-worth in the number of figures they own, so army building is right up their alley. But either way, you know, I think they could have done a better thing for the collector, but we know Hasbro's not into that. So let's get into the aesthetic. I think the sculpt is fine. There are different versions of the Mindless One, some more slender, some built like a linebacker, some with multiple eyes, different things like that. This is what I tend to think of, so I'm perfectly okay with this sculpt. It even lends itself to Hasbro's styling in that it has the narrow chest, the kind of frumpy look. I mean, obviously he's not a perfectly human-shaped character, but the toddler proportions that Hasbro likes to use suit this guy well, so I'm very pleased with that. The detailed sculpt work I think is actually pretty good too. It has that kind of magma, clay, rock looking type of thing going on, and it works. They did a pretty good job here. In terms of finishes, it's pretty uniform. We have different plastics going on here and there, but it's pretty darn uniform, especially to the naked eye without studio lights. It looks good. I'll take it. It's perfectly fine by me. As far as paint goes, they do have some spots of brown where they hit it with, it looks like airbrush. Is it? I don't know if it's airbrush or tampography. I can't tell, and I don't want to bother looking. It doesn't matter. It looks good. It's very dark. It's very subtle. It looks good. The only problem I have is that there's 0 on the back. And this isn't like a super expensive paint job, so you know, I think they could have spared a few pennies and done a little bit more, but it looks good on the front for sure. I like that. And then the way they did the face, like they definitely cut out a lot on the, let's call it an eye. They cut out a lot on there. It's very gappy, but that's for the accessory, so I don't mind. And it's a nice bright red, so I think it looks pretty good. Does it look good enough for me to say it's the best Build-A-Figure ever? No, definitely not. I mean, it's essentially a pile of dirt. So there's not a whole lot going on here, but what they did is well executed aesthetically. I will give it an 8 out of 10 for Marvel Legends. It looks pretty good. Now, as far as accessories, we don't always get those for a Build-A-Figure, but he does have the 2 open hands on him in the package, so to speak, and then you get 2 fist hands. I guess you could have assembled it any way you like. Mine ended up with the 2 open hands first. You know, it doesn't really matter. It's just a thing I say. And then we do get the blast effect type of thing for his eye, which works pretty well. It's supposed to be smoke. That's why, I guess smoke, like, I don't know what he actually is doing with that eye. Is it plasma, energy? I don't know what it is exactly, but it's meant to be like curling away like smoke from a gun blast type of thing. So that's why there's a gap down here. I don't mind that. Oh, by the way, I just remembered. you guys know I've been finishing my basement to turn into my collection room. Well, the last few days have been electrical work day, and I have just shish kebabbed my hands with the ends of the wires. So that's why I look like this, if you're wondering. Good news is I'll have an update video for you very soon with all the electrical work done. Anyway, it looks good. I wish this was a little bit more saturated and less dull, but it still looks pretty good. It is transparent, it clips on nicely, so accessory-wise, 7 out of 10 for a bath. They did a pretty good job. All right, and now it's time for the articulation. I'm guessing I'm not going to be thrilled, but hey, maybe it's really good. The way they did the head actually works pretty well. He can look up and down, definitely enough. He can even lean a little bit, and he can rotate. So the rotation's not as good as it could be. They didn't account for that. He has to kind of cock his head to the side, or to an angle to get it to look over, but still pretty good. For the shoulders, of course, you're going to get your full rotation. Out to the side, better than horizontal, no problem there. Bicep swivel is fine. Single jointed elbow, so you get your other bicep swivel there. 90-degree bend, just about, and of course it straightens. Wrists have a swivel and a hinge. Pretty standard so far. This better be, oh, his rock right here. They couldn't just make it a little bit different. You can't raise this arm up as far because it has the rock in the way. Can we? Yeah, you're not going to be able to force that. You're going to have to trim a little bit if you want this. They could have fudged it just a little bit to raise the arm up. That's annoying. Gosh, they don't even think. Just move the rock a little bit, or like, just shave a little bit off. That's so frustrating. All right, let's try the torso. Torso leans back okay. They're so lazy with their sculpts. They're so lazy. Why? Why does this have a big shelf here? Because it's easier for them to cut the joints that way, and then just to add a few little textures right here rather than to actually sculpt it for the articulation. I'm gonna have to do a video about that. I indicated I was going to the other day. I'm gonna have to. This is nuts. That's so lazy. It's a decent joint, it's functional, but the fact that it's just scalloped all the way around, faceted, essentially, is really annoying. He doesn't lean very far forward. Lately, Hasbro's baths like to pop apart easier than they should. That's kind of frustrating too. Oh my gosh. Okay, for the hips, he can bring his leg forward, comes out to the side pretty severely, but he can bring it forward a little bit, goes back just a touch out to the side, pretty darn well. That's nice. Bringing his legs together, you can't do that, and that's unfortunate because I'd like to put him in like a walking forward pose or a running pose, and you can't really do that effectively without getting like really dynamic with it, and I don't want that. If you Google him, in fact, the very first thing you see is an army of them walking with their legs together forward, like in a walking pose, and his legs have to be together for that, and they didn't do that. So that's annoying. There's no reason, no good reason for that. Thigh swivel is fine. It's actually nicely hidden. Bandai, pay attention. Didn't think I'd be saying that ever. You can hide a thigh swivel, by the way, Bandai. You don't have to make it look like somebody's wearing chaps. That's super annoying, but this is good. Single jointed knee is just about garbage. You know, you're not getting much out of that. It does rotate, but they could have definitely given him better range. And anytime they get a chance to not do something well, they take it. They could have easily articulated that knee better. All right, feet go back a little bit, they go forward a little bit, nothing crazy. Ankle rocker's okay. Yeah, it's fine. Some things work nicely. I like the way they did the head, but most of it, the rest of it is just basic, lazy Hasbro, not doing anything special. It's passable at best, so I'll say 7 for articulation. It's okay. You would think he'd be harder to pose or articulate, but the things they've done, they didn't even have to do. They could have made them better without even trying. Especially given the whole nature of his look. You could have easily carved away a little bit of extra meat back here to make him have a better knee joint, or sculpted his torso so that it actually looks good when it's posed, or give him better range in his elbows. Things like that don't need to be limited, but they always take the easy way out. Anyway, it's time for the final verdict. Do I think this makes for a good bath? Not really. I think it would be an excellent regular release. It's the same size as Hulk, essentially, so why not? As a bath, it's underwhelming. I think the Build-A-Figure should either be way better or bigger. Making a standard release, you're just paying for it across all the other figures that you don't want. It's really kind of predatory in its practice, but anyway, final verdict for this as a Build-A-Figure, I'm gonna go 7 out of 10. It's perfectly acceptable. There's nothing good about it, especially good anyway. It's like the bare minimum of what they need to do. Like, we're at the point where when Hasbro does a decent sculpt, ooh, everybody gets excited. It shouldn't be exciting for them to just do their job. You know? Oh, there's some brown shading on here, how exciting. It shouldn't be that way. You get what I'm saying? Like, this is not an impressive figure. It's what everything they make should look like. They couldn't have done less for this particular character especially. and released it in good faith, if you ask me. So I'm not impressed by it. I think this is the standard, especially for a character like this, you know? Let me know what you guys think about that stuff in the comment section below. But there you go, 7 out of 10. It's worth having if you wanted to have it. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you should. I have new videos almost every single day and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. In the meantime, keep collecting.